A sleep paralysis. When your mind wakes up but your body remains trapped. You wake up in the middle of the night, your eyes open, but something is terribly wrong. The room is plunged into a dense, almost palpable darkness. The air seems heavier, loaded with a tension you cannot explain. You try to move, but your body doesn't respond. You try to scream, but no sound comes from your throat. It's as if you were a prisoner inside your own body. In the corner of the room, a shadow moves, slowly, deliberately. Your eyes can follow it, but that's all you can do. Your heart races, pounding against your chest as if it wants to escape. Panic takes over, but you remain completely motionless, as if someone had turned off all the switches between your brain and your muscles. This is not a scene from a horror movie. This is the reality of millions of people around the world who experience something called sleep paralysis. And if you think you know fear, wait until you discover what really happens when your mind awakens, but your body remains trapped in a state of total paralysis. Sleep paralysis is a neurological phenomenon that occurs during the transition between sleep and wakefulness. During these episodes, the person is completely conscious and alert, but temporarily unable to move or speak. It's as if the switch between consciousness and motor control were broken, leaving the mind awake while the body remains in shutdown mode. Dr. Balan Jalal, a researcher at Harvard University who has dedicated years to studying this phenomenon, describes sleep paralysis as one of the most terrifying states the human mind can experience. During an episode, the brain is completely active, processing every thought, every sensation, every accelerated heartbeat, but the muscles remain atonic, as if they were made of lead. What makes this condition even more disturbing are the hallucinations that frequently accompany it. We're not talking about vague dreams or blurred images. We're talking about vivid, three-dimensional experiences that seem more real than reality itself. People report seeing shadowy figures, feeling malevolent presences, hearing voices whispering their names, or even experiencing the sensation of being suffocated by an invisible force. In 2018, a study published in the Journal of Sleep Research documented the case of a 34-year-old woman from the United Kingdom who began experiencing sleep paralysis after a period of intense stress at work. She described episodes where she felt a dark and heavy presence sitting on her chest, preventing her from breathing properly. During these moments, she could perfectly hear the sounds of the house, the ticking of the clock, even her husband's breathing as he slept beside her, but was completely unable to ask for help. What terrified her most was not just the paralysis, but the absolute vividness of the hallucinations. She reported seeing a hooded figure at the foot of the bed, so real that she could distinguish details of the clothing's texture. On some occasions, she felt cold hands touching her arms and legs. The episode lasted between 2 to 5 minutes, but for her, it seemed like an eternity. To understand why this happens, we need to dive into the neuroscience of sleep. During REM sleep, the phase where the most vivid dreams occur, our brain naturally paralyzes most voluntary muscles. This is an evolutionary protection mechanism that prevents our body from physically acting out our dreams. Imagine if you dreamed you were running and your body actually started running while you were lying in bed. In sleep paralysis, this protection system partially fails. The mind awakens before the paralysis mechanism is deactivated. It's as if you were a passenger trapped inside a vehicle whose ignition system stopped working. You're completely aware of what's happening around you, but you can't take control. Dr. Christopher French, professor of psychology at Goldsmiths University of London, explains that hallucinations during sleep paralysis occur because parts of the brain responsible for REM dreams are still active, even with the person technically awake. It's as if two realities were overlapping. that of the physical world and that of the dream world, creating a terrifying hybrid experience. There are three main types of hallucinations associated with sleep paralysis. The first type, called intruder, involves the sensation of a malevolent presence in the environment. People report seeing shadows, hooded figures, or even grotesque creatures moving around the room. The second type, known as incubus, includes sensations of pressure on the chest, difficulty breathing, and the sensation of being suffocated or sexually assaulted by an invisible entity. The third type, called out-of-body experience, is perhaps the most disturbing of all. During these episodes, people report the sensation of floating above their own bodies, observing themselves lying in bed, completely motionless. Some describe being dragged out of bed by invisible forces, or the sensation of flying or falling through the bed. A particularly well-documented case study comes from Denmark in 2019. Patient M, a 28-year-old man, began experiencing sleep paralysis after a drastic change in his work schedules. He worked irregular night shifts, sleeping at different times of the day. The episodes began subtly, but quickly intensified. During a particularly traumatic episode, patient M reported waking up at 3:47 a.m., being able to clearly see the digital clock beside the bed. He was completely paralyzed, but could smell something burning, as if there were a fire somewhere in the house. He could hear slow, heavy footsteps approaching his room, followed by the sound of someone dragging chains down the hallway. The bedroom door opened slowly, even though he was certain it was locked. A tall, shadowy figure entered, moving toward his bed. He could feel the weight of the figure sitting on the edge of the bed, making the mattress sink. Its hands were ice cold when they touched his face. Throughout this entire time, patient M was completely aware that this was a hallucination, but this didn't diminish the absolute terror he felt one bit. But why do some people develop sleep paralysis while others never experience a single episode? Scientific research has identified several risk factors. Sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea or narcolepsy, significantly increase the chances. Working irregular shifts, like patient M's case, is also a common trigger. Stress and anxiety function as powerful catalysts. Interestingly, genetic factors also play an important role. Studies with identical twins show that if one twin develops sleep paralysis, the other has a significantly higher probability of also developing the condition. This suggests there is a biological predisposition that can be inherited. Age is also a crucial factor. Sleep paralysis rarely affects small children, but usually manifests for the first time during adolescence or early adulthood. Epidemiological studies show that prevalence peaks between ages 20 and 30, a period of life frequently marked by academic stress, lifestyle changes, and irregularities in sleep patterns. Culturally, sleep paralysis has been interpreted in fascinating ways throughout history. In English folklore, it was known as Old Hag, an evil witch who sat on people's chests during the night. In Brazil, many regions know the phenomenon as pisadeira, a folkloric figure that steps on people's chests while they sleep. In Japanese culture, it's called kanashibari, literally bound by metal. These cultural interpretations are not mere coincidences. They reflect the universality of the human experience of sleep paralysis and the need to make sense of such a terrifying phenomenon. Dr. Shelley Adler, medical anthropologist at the University of California, argues that these folkloric explanations served as a form of social validation for an experience that could otherwise make people question their own sanity. And what if you were one of the people who experiences this regularly? What would it be like to live with the constant fear that at any moment you might wake up trapped inside your own body at the mercy of terrifying hallucinations? The answer to this question can be found in the accounts of people who live with chronic sleep paralysis. Many develop a specific form of phobia related to sleep, known as somnophobia. They begin to associate the bed and the act of sleeping with trauma and terror. Some go to the point of avoiding sleep completely, leading to chronic sleep deprivation and a cascade of physical and mental health problems. Dr. Ryan Hurd, a researcher specializing in sleep paralysis, documents cases of people who developed elaborate strategies to avoid episodes. Some sleep only with all lights on. Others set alarms to ring every 2 hours, deliberately interrupting their sleep cycles to avoid entering the deep REM phase where paralysis is most likely to occur. The psychological impact goes far beyond fear of sleep. Many people who suffer from recurrent sleep paralysis develop generalized anxiety, depression, and even symptoms similar to post-traumatic stress disorder. The line between reality and hallucination becomes blurred, creating a persistent sense of insecurity about one's own perception of reality. A particularly cruel aspect of sleep paralysis is that it frequently occurs during periods of greater vulnerability in a person's life. Studies show that episodes tend to cluster during periods of significant stress, important life transitions, or emotional crises. It's as if the brain, already overloaded, were unable to adequately coordinate the transition between sleep and wakefulness. The good news is that there are effective treatments. The first line of approach usually involves what doctors call sleep hygiene. This includes maintaining regular sleep schedules, avoiding caffeine and alcohol before bedtime, and creating a consistent and comfortable sleep environment. For many people, these simple lifestyle changes are sufficient to drastically reduce the frequency of episodes. For more severe cases, medications can be prescribed. Antidepressants, particularly those that suppress REM sleep, have shown significant efficacy. Medications like clomipramine can reduce both the frequency and intensity of episodes. However, these medications come with their own side effects and should be used under rigorous medical supervision. Psychological therapies also play a crucial role in treatment. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps people develop coping strategies and reduce anxiety associated with episodes. Some specific techniques, such as imagery therapy and rehearsal therapy, teach patients to visualize and mentally rehearse scenarios where they maintain control during a paralysis episode. A particularly interesting approach is education about the phenomenon itself. Many people report that simply understanding the scientific basis of sleep paralysis significantly reduces their terror. When you know that the shadowy figure in the corner of the room is a hallucination produced by your own brain and not a supernatural entity, the fear considerably diminishes. Dr. Jalal developed a technique called meditation relaxation, specifically for sleep paralysis. During an episode, instead of fighting against the paralysis, patients are taught to temporarily accept the condition, focus on breathing, and remember that the episode will pass. This paradoxical acceptance frequently leads to a reduction in the duration and intensity of episodes. But perhaps the most important aspect of treatment is support and validation. Many people who suffer from sleep paralysis feel isolated and misunderstood. They may hesitate to tell their experiences for fear of being considered mentally unstable. Support groups, both in-person and online, have proven incredibly valuable in providing a safe space where people can share their experiences without judgment. Sleep paralysis also raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness and perception. During an episode, the line between reality and hallucination dissolves completely. The experiences are so vivid, so convincing, that even knowing rationally that they are hallucinations, the brain processes them as completely real. This leads us to question, what is real? If our brain can create experiences so convincing that they are indistinguishable from reality, what does this tell us about the nature of reality itself? Sleep paralysis serves as a unique window into the mysteries of human consciousness, revealing how complex and sometimes fragile the interface between our mind and our perception of the world is. Researchers continue exploring the neurological mechanisms underlying sleep paralysis. Neuroimaging studies show specific patterns of brain activity during episodes. Certain regions associated with fear and threat detection show elevated activity, while areas responsible for voluntary movement remain suppressed. This research not only helps us better understand sleep paralysis, but also offers insights into other neurological disorders. Conditions like narcolepsy, certain types of epilepsy, and even some psychiatric disorders share similar neurological mechanisms. Understanding sleep paralysis may open pathways to more effective treatments for a wide range of conditions. The modern era has brought new challenges for those who suffer from sleep paralysis. Our increasingly connected lifestyles, with constant exposure to screens and artificial light, disrupt our natural circadian rhythms. The stress of modern life, combined with irregular sleep patterns, creates a perfect environment for the development of sleep disorders, including sleep paralysis. Interestingly, the COVID-19 pandemic led to a significant increase in reports of sleep paralysis. Researchers attribute this to a combination of factors: increased stress and anxiety, drastic changes in sleep patterns due to remote work, and social isolation that left many people more vulnerable to mental health problems. For those who have never experienced sleep paralysis, it may be difficult to fully understand the impact it can have on a person's life. Imagine living with the constant uncertainty that, at any moment, you might find yourself trapped inside your own body, at the mercy of terrors that seem more real than reality itself. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about people who live with sleep paralysis is their resilience. Many develop a deep and unique understanding of the nature of mind and consciousness. They learn to navigate the boundaries of reality and perception in ways that most of us will never need to do. Sleep paralysis reminds us of the fundamental fragility of human experience. Our sense of control over our own bodies and minds is, in many respects, an illusion. During a sleep paralysis episode, this illusion is shattered, revealing how dependent we are on the delicate neurological mechanisms that coordinate our conscious experience. In the end, sleep paralysis is more than just a sleep disorder. It's a window into the deepest mysteries of the human mind, a reminder that there is still much we don't understand about ourselves. It teaches us about the limits of perception, the nature of reality, and the incredible complexity of the human brain. And perhaps, most importantly, it teaches us about the importance of compassion and understanding. For those who experience this condition, knowing they are not alone, that their experiences are valid and understood, can make all the difference between isolation and recovery. If you found this exploration of the mysteries of the human mind interesting, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content about the most fascinating and disturbing phenomena in psychology. Share your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video with someone who might be interested in these profound themes about human consciousness. This content is purely educational and does not replace professional medical advice. If you experience episodes of sleep paralysis or any other sleep disorder, seek guidance from a qualified healthcare professional for proper diagnosis and treatment.